Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. My name is Patrick, and I'm going to be one of your hosts today. We have several other people who will be joining me to present demos. Today, first of all, a quick audio check here. If you can hear me, please raise your hand. And we'll get one more. Thank you, Brian, again. And great. It sounds like we have a full audience. Thank you all for being here. And we have a pretty exciting demo-laden, demo-rich, demo-filled webinar for you this morning. And I've got Dawn and hopefully Mel here to also do some demos. But before we get started, let's do a quick poll and let's just get a little feedback from you here. Why are you here, obviously? What version of DBXL do you have? We're talking about 3.2 today. We've been making some changes to improvements to it over the last 4 or 5 months, and want to get a quick sense of which version you have, and hopefully you can see that screen. We'll give it a few more seconds here, and you just have to click on the version that is yours, and it looks like we've got quite a few of you who don't have it. If you're interested in the demo only, that's great to have you here. And then we have quite a few on 3.0. So we did cover 3.1 last year. We launched it about once every year or so. The last time we launched DBXL was in October of 2016. I'm just going to close that poll. Thank you for voting. We got one more quick question, and that is, for those of you who do have DBXL, how do you use it today? DBXL has the ability to submit data to a database, which is great. It extends you beyond the limits of Sharepoint. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We also have the ability to query existing data, so you can have this accelerator that both submits and queries data from SQL to build real-world scenario solutions. We also have the ability to generate PDFs and do workflows and generate XML as it gets sent out in email. So many of you probably are interested in all of these. I'm going to close that poll then. Looks like most of you, everyone voted for the last one. Thanks for that. Okay, so today's agenda is we're going to quickly recap what is DBXL. We've had it out there in the world for 12, 13 years now. And it is our flagship accelerator for building solutions with SharePoint forms. And we'll be talking about the new features in 3.2. If you are interested in looking back at 3.1, I encourage you to take a look at our website. We have recently revamped our website, and you can go to Education and Webinars, and you'll see that underneath the webinars, you can look at the previous webinars. And if you search for DBXL in here, of course, you'll see that the last time we did this was, the last time we actually did one in October. I think this one here, 11/17, we featured DBXL 3.1. So either that one, that's when we actually launched it, or the preview in May would be a good thing to look at. In addition, you can go up here to Tools, and you can look at DBXL here. What's new? We have not launched the 3.2 list yet, but I'm going to be going over that today. But you can kind of get a sense of how often we've released this by looking at the version history, and we've released it quite a lot. So that's the quick agenda for today. If you got questions, please feel free to use the question area in the webinar. Go to webinar. Looks like we don't have any questions yet, so I'll take a look at that again at the end after our demos. Like I said, we have a lot of demos today, and I want to get to those quickly. But first, what is DBXL? Well, back in 2003, 2004, we were beginning our life as consultants working with SharePoint Forms, InfoPath. And of course, our sugar daddy, aka Microsoft, asked us to come back and do some work. And that was actually how we got started, was we went back to Microsoft and we built solutions for Microsoft using SharePoint, using InfoPath. And we quickly hit upon this limitation where you can't report on repeating data. So your forms can collect repeating data. Almost all the forms will gather repeating data. 95% of all the forms out there in the world today have repeating data. Think about invoice requests, timesheets, expense reports. All those things always have repeating data, and it was impossible for us to report on it because SharePoint doesn't allow you to promote repeating data. So that was the big kind of gotcha gap that we experienced in the early days, and we built DBXL to address that gap, to allow you to submit data to a database and therefore do the reporting on it. So it's a generic web service for SharePoint forms, a typo there, and it does fill those gaps that one of the ones I just mentioned, maps the data to SQL. It's a web service, so it's a third tier or a middle tier. What that means is it's very easy to change the client, that's the InfoPath form, or the server without impacting the process. In other words, the fact that we've abstracted this mapping, put it into the middle tier, that means that we can change the client, change the server, and just change the mapping, and they can fit. Again, we don't have any breakages, and that's pretty key when you have a solution that is live. You want to be able to update the database and update the form without breaking the submit process. So here's some of the piece of data. So here's a quick slide on one scenario with DBXL. A person submits a form to a library in SharePoint that's synchronized via the web service to an Azure database living in the cloud. So it's 365 and Azure. You can also do this on-prem, obviously with DBXL database local. You can generate a PDF that gets sent out to people when that form is submitted. Another scenario is, another PDF scenario is when you want to archive data. You can submit it to that library and then remove it from the library and archive it as PDF or XML into, like, say, a OneDrive or a Dropbox share, and then synchronize that. Finally, final scenario here, and there's lots of different scenarios here. I've just picked a few to kind of highlight. We allow you to generate XML files that get sent, or links that get sent to people in the field. So if you have a need to do dispatch and send a pre-filled out form to somebody to fill in, we have that ability too. You can create a web page, obviously. You can generate then the XML as part of the submit, or some kind of a button click on the web page would add a row to a database, and then that would generate the XML. And that's all configurable in DBXL. That was a feature we added, I want to say, in 2.9 or 3.0. So today, the main reasons for this database accelerator web service are to go beyond the limitations in SharePoint, also to allow you to, when you're integrating with SQL, you can pull and push data in a way that allows you to create very, very rich forms. And of course, there are features missing, like the generate PDF and reporting on repeating data. And we'll be demoing some of this in a moment. And like I said earlier, because the changes don't break the submit process, we submit the XML, we save the XML, and the mapping is a secondary action. Changes to the client, changes to the database don't break that solution. So quickly then, before we get to the demos, the main focus on 3.2, and we've been working on this since around December, we wanted to make some changes to the web admin tool. So let's take a look at the web admin tool. So here's the web admin tool, and this is a dev site here. This is actually, this is the home page when you launch as of 3.1. The big change to 3.1 was the emergence of a non-InfoPath based way to manage your form templates, and that's the web admin tool that you see here. And this allows us to collect all of our different document types and then create mappings for them. And this is this is our development site, so you can see we've got a lot of data in here. One of the samples that comes prepackaged with DBXL is the QD expense report sample. Now, in here, when I click on this, you can see that this is where I upload the XSN. Once I've uploaded the XSN, then I can actually go to my database tab and I can create a mapping. On the left, what you see here is the database table. You can see we've got all these different tables in our sample database. On the right, you can see the XPath. This is the path to the XML node in the form. Okay, and so this is how you create the mapping. It's very, very easy. You can see we can have a repeating parent-child relationship here. This is a child table, the expense report employee. So this is the form that collects an expense report, and then we're mapping the parent data, that's the expense report data that you see this top table, to a separate SQL table, and then we're mapping, we've got three, I think, child tables where we're mapping the actual expense details. So this one, for example, the expense report item would be a good example of that. And they of course point back to the parent table using this foreign key relationship here. But it's very easy to set these mappings. So that's the database tab. I don't think this form has any permissions defined on it, but you can have dynamic permissions based on who the form is assigned to. And that's all controlled via the web service, so it's very secure. And then we have the ability for you to query documents. This tab here is probably going to get redone in the next release. We've had a lot of feedback from customers that this tab is hard to use. Specifically, if you've got lots and lots of items. In this case here, we've only got 21 total documents for this document type, so it's not a big deal. But if you have like thousands of documents, it's hard to search for them. So we're probably going to add search ability to search for a specific document. And you can, of course, create your own dashboards to do that today. It hasn't been a huge priority for ours. But the statistics tab was new as of the 3.0 release. I'm not going to cover that right now, but you can get statistics on how many people have submitted different document types. The best place to go to get those statistics is probably from the catalog page. If you want to look at things, we have a usage tab here, and this can be, you can change this basically to drill down on usage. You can see that the developers have not been very busy this week on this site for whatever reason. And I probably should be using a different one, but you can see here how this gives you kind of an idea of which forms are being used the most and so on. It's interesting, but it's not super useful. There's also an ability to look at errors. But let me go back to where we were. If you got questions, don't forget, you can always throw them in the question area, and I'll get to them in a minute. So here we were with the expense report sample, just going a quick overview of the web DBXL admin tool. Once again, we changed from using InfoPath to using a web-based tool back in 3.1. That was a major improvement in that release. We have the ability now to generate emails from an incoming form, and here one of the key differences in 3.2 is the ability to generate an email without attaching a PDF. So this one here is actually attaching a PDF, and you can see we have a layout issue here. If I go to the more recent version, which is, I believe, this is the test build. You can see we fixed those layout issues there. But this is the screen here this is actually today's build. If you look down below, you can always see which version of DBXL you're running by looking down below. We haven't actually even incremented that major version there, but this is the 427 build. So the email tab allows you to create an email which either includes a PDF and images or is just an email notification with links in it. And you can use a view to specify, for example, what you want to send to the person. XML tab, this is what generates the XMLs. We don't have anything specified for this document type. And the import tab, we'll get to the demo on this in a second. This allows you to import data from an Excel file. And then finally, the query builder, which is new in 3.2. The query builder tab allows you to create queries. So that's a quick overview of the new features in 3.2. Query builder tab, the Excel import tab. We have document type history now. We fixed a number of issues with the web admin tool, layout issues, and we've also made improvements to the PDF email tab. We call the tab email now, but it generates PDFs. It also generates emails. So let's go and take a look at this. We've got 3 demos on DBXL, actually 2 demos, some slides, a slide with some screenshots, and then we also have a bonus demo for you today on how to create a calendar view in Sharepoint using InfoPath and Forms Viewer. And Mel's going to be showing you this form in a minute, so hopefully we'll keep your attention until that bonus demo. Once again, if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to throw those into the question area. So I'm going to do the first demo, and that's the query builder demo. So previously, when you're creating a query, so one of the benefits of DBXL, once again, is to query the database. So you can create a form that basically queries the database. So here's a very sample form. I started Designer, and I went New, and I create a blank form. And the first thing I did was I wanted to add a data connection. So I've added a data connection to get these expense reports. So you can query the database using DBXL by adding in a database connection here, data connection. And this is querying the SOAP web service. And the SOAP web service is, in this case, it's our dev site, dbxl365.formsport.com, Qdabra web service. And then the actual web service name is querydb.asmx. So when I do that, it's going to give me a number of web methods. And most of the time, we're going to be using this get columns XML string query. If you want more information, you can look at the descriptions of these various things. Now, when we set up this web query, we have to give it a query XML. One of the benefits of this query DB, this query builder, is the ability to generate dynamic queries. So we don't have to necessarily worry about hard coding this. And in fact, I recommend when you're creating this query, you need to use query builder, right? Because this is XML. It's like, well, I don't know how to create this. So normally what people do is they'll launch query builder, which is a info path form that we created a long time ago. You just launch the filler and you have to install the form. In fact, once it's installed, you can click on it here and that launches the query builder. And then what you do is you would type in your query string. In this case, it would be https dbxl365 formsport.com and so on, right? And then we would get the database schema. Did I do this right? I didn't do this right. I always screw that up. We'd specify the database connection string or something, and then we basically use this tool to create the queries. And when we're all done, it would look something like, I'm just going to skip ahead to the one I have already saved. It would look something like this. So this is actually on our training site, but you can see here that I've created this query to query the expense report item. That's the child table, pulling in the expense report ID table, or the column, category column, date column, and description amount. And then this tool will generate these queries that we can then use in InfoPath to query the database. Now, this tool ships in 3.1 and all the previous versions, and the way you find it is you just go up to the home page here, and if you look at down below, we have Query Builder, and you can install it right here. So, but what's new in 3.2 is this web version. So once again, I'm going to go back to my catalog form. And what we did was we actually added it as a tab. And the reason why we did this, number one, was to simplify your life. You don't have to worry about installing InfoPath form to create the queries. You can just do it here. So it simplifies the connection to the database because it just assumes you're going to connect to the one that you have there. You can change it though. You can change that to another database if you want. And then you just add your columns and so on. So here, this is not actually specifying any columns. It's just blank, but you can specify the columns here, and you can see that for the QD expense report table, we've got these columns. If I switch it to the report item table, it's going to give me different columns, right? And the ability to compare them. I need to refresh this. Let's see here. I think I need to click on this refresh button first. Okay, now they're different, I think. Yeah. So is that true? Yeah, I guess that is different now. Let's see here. Expense report item. We are about to ship this release here. Unlike last year, May 19th preview, we are actually very close to shipping. So hopefully this actually will work. Anyway, so I've got some data here, and I can select my columns, date. I want to select the amount column. I want to select of course, the merchant name and the description category. Let's just do category for now. Okay, so once I've created my columns, I can add a comparison. I'm not going to do a comparison for this one. I can do a filter, I can do a sort. Obviously, there's lots of options, but then at the end, you can build your strings, and this is going to give us these different query XML strings. Now, the benefit here of using the admin tool in the web is that I don't have to worry about switching back and forth with InfoPath. Before, when we had the filler, I couldn't actually go into the data connection here and add that new data connection, because if I try to switch now back to the other InfoPath form, I can't get to it, right? Because you can only have one. This dialog box is modal. Because the dialog box is modal, I could not switch back to my, my other version of InfoPath where I had the strings, and that's why we told people to copy these out to Notepad, which was kind of a nuisance, right? So you don't have to do that anymore. There's no more Notepad copying of query strings. You can simply just Alt-Tab to the web admin tool to get that query string. So let's do that. Let's add another one for this, get expense items. So once again, we're just adding a web service call, and in this case, I think that we're doing it to the, let's see, this is the test site, I believe. Well, let's just do it again to this site here. So obviously we need to give it the web service. So just specifying the top Qdabra web service will fail. So what we want to make sure we do is make sure we correctly enter this thing. And when we do, it's going to give us those web methods again, and we're going to pick XML string query. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to paste in that query string. And now this is a different database, so I need to be on the right tab. I think this is the tab I want to be on right here. We've got a lot of different demos we can run here, but let's just grab this one instead because I know this will work better. Okay, and when we click next, it's going to verify that. And then for the second one, we're just going to pick the second one here. Just Control A, Control C, and now we've set up our data connection. Now we're not going to query this on load. We're going to call this get reports 2 or something like that. And what we'll do is we'll have a button here that queries it, and we'll just copy this button. And instead of calling it query 1, we're going to call it query 2. And then I want to take this data connection and pull it over to the form so you can see the results. Okay, and then we're going to do, when we hit this query, instead of querying, we're going to make sure we update the data connection to be correct. Now I can also put in the dynamic XML here too if I want to update on the fly. So we just added a query to query the database, and we click on this query here, the second one is going to go and query that. Now let's just make one quick change to this just to show you how easy it is to do that. And let's say, for example, that we want to filter it and we want to insert a comparison where the doc ID is greater than, let's just say 27,900. I know there's a lot of doc IDs in this one. So we're just going to create that comparison, and let's see if this will actually work here. Okay, so because it's this hard-coded, we don't have to worry about a concat. So we can just copy this third item here. And back in our form, we're going to add a rule, an action to set the query XML value. I'm just going to switch to the query field, and then I can just paste that in, and that should give me different results now when I preview it. So it's really easy to change these things on the fly. You can even use data in your form to automatically change it, and you can see that, let's see here, okay, let's do it after 28,000. That will reduce it significantly. We could do it any kind of a query. Actually, the problem here is that make sure you move your filters up before your queries. If your filter is not before your query, then it's not going to do much. And I think, let's just see if I can find the doc ID. Are we even, I'm wondering if it even got the filter. Here it is. Here's the filters at the end here. So we'll just say 28,000 here. Okay, and one more time, and then we'll be done and move on to the next demo. So once again, very easy to create these queries on the fly to your database. And that's the first demo. That's the query builder. Looking back at the web slides, the main benefits here, you don't have to install a query builder, you don't need Notepad, and those queries can be saved for future reference. So that's a huge win for you. Now the second demo we want to do is on the import tab. And I'm going to switch over to make Don the presenter, and he's going to show you his quick demo. Hopefully it'll take 5 minutes. And then we have another demo coming up. So if you've got time, that's great. If not, we are taping this, and we'll put the video on YouTube later. Before I switch to Don, let me just do a quick preview of this. So the import tab is, I don't have any items defined for this document type, but if I look at this one, I've got import. So the import tab allows you to pull in data from Excel, and we have this tool called XLS-XML, which we actually charge people for. We've actually integrated that tool with DBXL to make it easier to pull data into DBXL, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to switch to Don, and he's going to do a quick demo of this. Don, are you there?
That's right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great. I'm just going to make you the presenter now. You're on.
Okay, I'll just make sure that I'm sharing out the correct screen. Okay, are you seeing the DBXL company contact info?
Yes, we are all good here.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone, and we'll demonstrate how this import tool works. So first, what I'd like to show is the Excel sheet that we have here. So this Excel sheet is going to be, this main value sheet is going to be treated as the parent data, and we're going to have child data over here for the contact details. So as you can see here, it has a company ID that is referencing the ID column right here on the parent sheet. And then we have those columns as well for the other sheets here, which is the product owned. And for the email addresses, it's a child or a nested section or a nested data for the contact details. So you can see, as you can see here, it uses 2 columns for the ID. So the second ID column is used for the email addresses. Now you can either design your form based on the Excel sheet that you have, or if you already have an existing form, then you have to base your sheets based on the form that you have. So for this Excel sheet, this is the form that we are using. So this is going to be the section right here. This is going to be the parent data, and we're going to have the contacts and the product zone. So you can see that from here. So these are the sheets that will be mapped to these fields. And for the email addresses, this is a child child data of the contact repeating section. Now I'll be going to the documents tab just to show that there's nothing right now if we query for this document type. Okay, so there's nothing right now, and I'll move on to the import tab and to show you the mapping that we have here. Okay, for the first section here, which is the general section, you're going to have a configuration where you can select the Excel sheet and the data for the DBXL submit options, which is going to be shown at the Documents tab. So you're going to have here the description, the name of the author, and the if you're using filters for the XPath. And this is going to be the mapping underneath. So what's important is to have a DBXL ID, which is the key info or the index. And we're using the column name ID from the parent column right here. Now this is important because it's indexing the files you have for DBXL. Now before you proceed with creating the mapping, you first need to have this index declared right here. So you can name it any name that you want, and use the XPath to the form that we have here. So this is the original ID, which is going to be the globally unique ID for the forms, which again is the ID, and that is going to be the DBXL index ID. Now back to the mapping. We've declared that here, and we're going to configure the sheet names and select the fields that are required. So for the root of the parent data, you have to select the root field, which is my fields for the sample that we have here. And these are the same columns and fields you saw earlier from the XLS sheet and the info path form. So this is the XPath right here, and it automatically selects the data type based on the uploaded form that you have for your doc type. And these are the child sheets. So as you can see here, this is for the product. So you only have one item here. Let's go back there. So this only has one. And for the contacts, you're going to have 3. But again, there's this child data underneath, or the nested data underneath the child repeating data. So for the contact details, you're going to have the name, phone number, and underneath it, this one is another child sheet, which is going to be for the email address. So what's nice about this is that it can support unlimited nesting for the repeating tables that you have. So you can have unlimited child and parent relationships. Now that we have this mapping right here, I'm going to select the XLS sheet and just click on the import data.
For those of you paying attention, there's some layout issues you can see with that page. He's running the March version of the release. I'm going to show the layout changes that are fixed in the today's release in a moment, but there's still some layout issues with the version that you're running there, Don, on the right with those buttons. Those are fixed in the latest build.
I see.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, Patrick. So hopefully we were able to upload all the data from the XLS sheet. I'm just going to query and see if you were able to upload the items properly. So there we go. So that's what we have here. If we try to open one, here's what we're going to see. So right now it's not uploaded or published to SharePoint, so we're opening the forms up in Filler. So for Acme Inc., we have John Doe, John Wayne, and the products.
That's great, Don.
And I also have created a sample dashboard right here. Just open it up just for them to see that
That's
the
great.
child and parent.
So, Don, if you go back and re-import and change something, can you show them how the dashboard would change?
Yeah, sure. So let's add a new company here, or let's change.
Just change Acme to Qdabra. Just change it for now. Because we're trying to.
Just Qdabra. and I'll save it.
And one of the benefits of this tool is that it should allow you to update the information that's already there, so long as the IDs haven't changed.
So I'll just go back and try to see if it was updated properly. Journals, forms, Excel sheet. Was this updated? Doesn't look like it, so I'll just save it.
Okay, so Don, quickly here, we want to move on to the next one. Can you quickly show us that import, please? I'm pushing you, sorry. I just want to make sure we get...
Okay, that's saved. Okay, so...
But it's really that easy, right? Just hit import again, right?
Yeah.
I guess you got to select the right one.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the dashboard, can we just refresh it? The dashboard is connected, right?
Right. Oh, I have to run it again. I didn't have a refresh button.
Cool.
As you can see,
very nice.
It's updated.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, thank you very much, Sean. Great demo. I'm going to switch to my screen again and hopefully trying to do this here. Can you make me presenter, Don?
Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm making myself presenter here. 1 second. So I've got a quick overview here of that demo you just saw from Don. Once again, no hassle with the command line tool. It's free. It's part of the DBXL 3.2. We also include free kitten voices in the background if you like kittens. And we get better logging of errors. So actually, Don didn't show this, but the errors are actually logged, and you can save those mappings and run it over and over again, and imports the doc type directly. One limitation right now is that it's not going to. And we have the XLS XML tool actually imports to Sharepoint as well. And this one just imports to DBXL, obviously, because it's the DBXL version. But you can export those XMLs and then just upload them to Sharepoint as well if you want to get the XMLs into Sharepoint. So the next quick demo, I want to show the layout changes. So we've made some improvements to the layout. I just got some screenshots here. As you saw with the import mapping, those buttons that Don was showing were not correctly laid out, and we've fixed it in the latest build. And you might have seen that on my screen earlier. We've also fixed some layout issues with the email view where the things weren't aligned, and those are now fixed. So that's a quick shout out to the layout changes. There's quite a few fixes in this build, and we can't cover everything, but we've made a ton of changes to fix minor issues with the admin tool. So finally, let's give a shout out to Mel Clemente. She's one of our top designers here. She's put together this wonderful little calendar just this week, actually. Mel, would you like to show people how you did this?
Sure thing. So good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen. I'd like to start this quick demo by showing you the out-of-the-box SharePoint calendar, which you're seeing right now. This is in Office 365. This is a calendar for...
Yeah, Mel, I can't see your screen, sorry.
Let's...
It says you're presenter.
Yeah, and I've got the show screen option enabled. Let me try that again.
Okay, now I can see it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was talking about the SharePoint out-of-the-box calendar here. I'm showing you the leave requests calendar that we have internally. And we've, one of our customers came to us asking for this limitation in the SharePoint calendar where you're only allowed in the month view to show one column for the headings, right? And I'll show you this in the settings page. I'm going to library tab and then I'm going to try to modify the view here. And right here you see on the calendar columns, you've only got one choice for the month view title, and 2 for the week view, and then 2 for the day view again. So that's kind of a limitation there where, when there might be times you want to display more data in the calendar UI itself. So I've come up with this forms viewer form. Switch to my machine.
Yeah, you can see. I didn't see the limit, Mel, when you were showing it. It didn't refresh, but it looks like it is now. Finally, it's just there's quite a bit of a delay. It looks like.
Yeah, sorry about that. You want me to show again?
No, you're fine. Let's just take a look at the form. How you've worked around the limitation.
Yeah. So right here is the Forms Viewer version. This is actually built in InfoPath, and we've managed to be able to copy the layout, maybe not exactly as the SharePoint.
Not showing. Sorry, Mel, but I'm interrupting you again here. Still not showing. Do you want me to show it from my screen?
Yeah, I guess you can do that.
Right.
No, I'll talk to it. Thanks.
Okay, great. I'm just making myself presenter again. So, yeah, sorry about the delay there. It just looks like we have this sample, of course, that we'll be including. I'll be sending the samples out in a more timely way than I did last week. I'm sorry for those of you who were in our webinar last week. I didn't get the samples out until yesterday. So here's Mel's form, and you can see that this is InfoPath. Mel, what do you want me to do?
I still don't see your screen.
No, we got the opposite issue. I think everyone else can, though, because I've got 2 machines here. But what Mel's done is she's created this wonderful dashboard form that actually you can see here on the right in the main data source. We've got 1 through 7 in the calendar, and this allows us to obviously promote more than just that one field that was the issue with the SharePoint view. And this is all using some cool techniques that we've gotten in Forms Viewer, and you don't need InfoPath Designer. I'm sorry, you don't need InfoPath Form Services in SharePoint to use this. You can use Forms Viewer, and we transform the data in, and it shows it up. And I guess I need to preview this, Mel, but I don't think I have access to the site where you're previewing it from. So I guess, folks, we have. Yep. No.
Yeah, you want to show it in Forms Viewer from the...
I don't think I have access to... Did you give me the anonymous link or something like that? I guess we're running out of time. I'm sorry. But
I was going to show it how it looks exactly in the browser. Okay.
Okay. Well, we can do that if I have access to it. Is it the link you put in Skype?
Yep. And I'll send you the login too.
We've got to give a shout out to Mr. Mark McLean for this wonderful, I see I don't have a login here, but I'm not going to be able to log in, Mel, and we're running out of time, so I'm sorry, but this is a very cool demo, and we'll probably do it again next week because we ran out of time this week, but if you're interested, please take a look at how Mel did this, and it's pretty cool. The benefits, once again, are you can customize the design, you can bypass the SharePoint limitations, you can pull data in from anywhere faster. It does require Forms Viewer for now. So let's see, definitely want to help you with upgrades. Upgrades are free as part of your DBXL license, so let us know. If you want, we can move you to Azure. Azure is a low-cost option for continuing your DBXL into the cloud. We have lots of people using it. And I know we've got a couple of shout-outs there. Thanks, Brian, for shouting out, saying hello. And great to have you here again. And if you've got questions, now would be a great time to ask them, and we can respond to your questions. We are planning to release DBXL in the next week, and it will be available on our website. We are pretty much done with everything. We just have some documentation to write. And I want to thank you for being here. Let's do a quick check and see if we have any questions. It looks like we do not have questions. Thanks, Mark, for that comment. And so anyway, we are here to help you with your upgrade to DBXL 3.2, and hope to get that scheduled for you whenever is convenient. But we are taking scheduling requests now for the next month, May. We also have the training next month, so we have training, next week and next month. If you're interested in training, please let us know. We'd love to have you in the class. If you've taken the training in the last year, you can attend for free. You can just audit the class again. And with that, I'd like to say thank you once again for being here. We'll get this video up to YouTube and send out the package of contents today, and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks, Mel. Thanks, Don.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.